right, everyone, we are back. Make sure you have your cameras on. Cameras. All right, cool. So, guys, YouTube is up. And speaking of YouTube, guys, if you can, make sure you hit you go to YouTube and hit the subscribe button. We have a lot of good stuff that's gonna pop up over the next couple of months. So new courses, not only the real estate, we're gonna have the mortgage course, insurance course, small investment courses, first-time home buyer stuff. There's a lot of good stuff that's gonna credit, a lot of small videos that are gonna pop up on YouTube. So take advantage, subscribe so you can get all that info once it pops up, if you're interested, of course. If not, then keep it the way it is, and we'll meet until the end of the class. You pass the exam and you forget me forever. All right, next. We're going to talk about New Jersey housing regulations. We're going to talk about fair housing laws, and that's discrimination. Guys, we've talked about this already several times. At agency relationship, we talked about it in fair housing when we talked about professional practices, right? In chapter 20. And now we're talking about it for New Jersey portion. So let's go over New Jersey law against discrimination. Who remembers, let's start with the federal law actually. Who remembers this date? Let me know what you remember about this date. Put it in the chat real quick. What do you remember about this date? Coffee is hot. All right. Okay, very good, Erica. And Muslima, Robin, who else? Vanessa, Elena, great. Hold on. Okay, there's one thing I don't need you guys to remember. I'm not just gonna let you know right now. Is this? That's why I skipped before. Civil Rights Act is not really what you need to remember for this. You need to remember what 1866 stands for. And yes, it was a Civil Rights Act, but it's based on race and color. That's what you need to associate immediately. Race and color were protected through the 1866 class. Mainly, race is the issue here, okay? So yes, you are correct, law against discrimination, but there's a lot of laws against discrimination. It's just that this was the first one, and we addressed race, okay? We addressed race, color in it. It's the Civil Rights Act of 1866, so race. It is correct to say, again, Civil Rights Act, but what I want you to really associate is this, okay? All right, guys, just give me one quick second. Well, I can't answer that until 7:30. Okay, so I just received a message from somebody I'm addressing real quick. I cannot answer that until 7:30, which is the time that you're asking. But yes, I do know someone. Just let me know which areas, and we'll address that right after class, maybe, or during the next break. Okay, so I'll reach out to you. As far as Muslima's question, will they trip you by giving a different date like 1867? Not the 1867, but they might talk about 1968 or 1988, or 1974, which are different dates for different things. But when we're talking about race and color, it's the 1866 law. Now, sometimes they might not even talk about the 1866. They might not even put a question about the year. But you need to know that if it's based on race, it's illegal. But in 1968, they created exemptions. Remember that, right? So that could be the one of the questions. Okay. Now, New Jersey, one of the things that New Jersey did, so you guys know, is by 1945, they created their own New Jersey law against discrimination. So we have the federal law, and then 1945, New Jersey says, I like you as a law, but we got to make our own. And our own law here in New Jersey, as an example, is way stricter than the 1866 law. Initially, it was addressed towards employment, but it extended as well towards housing. Now, one of the things that it did, right, the law against discrimination in housing, is change the exemptions that 1968 law has under federal law to lesser exemptions. All right. So 1968 law, the federal law, is very liberal in their exemptions. State of New Jersey, first of all, they said, while the federal law allows you to discriminate on the sale or rental, right? New Jersey says, and this is for residential property, New Jersey says, well, first of all, we should not be addressing residential property only. We should protect people in every class of real estate. So all real property is protected, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial, recreational, whatever it might be. The laws are across the board. So you cannot discriminate based on race, color, religion, national origin, gender, familial status, or anything like that in either residential, commercial, industrial, and so on. Federal only addresses residential. New Jersey says all types of real estate are protected. Okay? Okay? Now, another thing they did also is, let's skip all this stuff. We're going to go to the exceptions, and then I'm going to go back up, okay? So another thing they did was, instead of sales and rentals, they applied the exemptions only to rentals. Okay, so you remember that federal law says residential, sale, or rental. There's exemptions. New Jersey says, no, at the time of sale, you're selling, you're getting out of there. Are you kidding me? You're going to discriminate? You're getting out of there, period, right? On rentals, we kind of agree. That's what New Jersey says. We kind of agree on rentals. For instance, right here, I'm renting a room or apartment in my house. I can restrict it to people of the same sex. Like, I don't want a woman to rent in my house, or if you're a woman, you don't want a man to rent a room in your house, as an example, right? That's okay. You're protecting yourself. Maybe that's what it is, and they allow that. You can restrict the rental of rooms, apartments, or flats to one sex in certain kinds of housing. Okay, rentals by religious organizations or private clubs as well, just like the federal law. If it's intended for that particular organization, the members of that organization, it's okay. Now, let's see if you remember this. Muslim, I'll address yours in a second. Let's see if you guys remember this from federal law. It says right here, that New Jersey allows rentals, discrimination in rentals if it's owner-occupied duplex or up and down two-family, right? And this is allowed, right, against any protected class except for race. So I can say, oh, you're from a different religion. I don't want you in my house. I can say if I'm the owner occupant of a duplex or up and down two-family. You guys remember hearing this before? Anybody? Give me a thumbs up if you remember hearing this before. And my answer is no, you did not hear this before. You heard something similar. See, in federal law, tricked you, sorry. In federal law, this is why I'm doing this, because this question right here, I remember clearly the first time I took this exam, right, when I passed the license the first time, I got stuck in this question for 14 minutes. One question, 14 minutes. Because look, I'm teaching you guys the way I was taught as a kid. My mom always said, don't discriminate against anybody. Everybody is equal. Simple, right? That's how I was brought up. And then I took the class and they say, you can't discriminate, can't discriminate, can't discriminate. Got it. Right? Erica, absolutely. And then I get to this question that says, when can you discriminate? And I'm like, looking at all the answers, I'm like, no, none of these make sense. What do you mean be able to discriminate? We shouldn't discriminate. But there's one answer that says it's okay to discriminate. And I'm stuck at it. I'm like, okay, there are exemptions. There are exceptions. There's exceptions. I should be able to remember this. And I couldn't remember which one. They're all very ridiculous, right? And then when I got off the exam, I went to research this because I got stuck for 14 minutes, right? My mind was like, I need to get out of here. 14 minutes. And I kept on postponing that question, going back to it, right? Here's the thing. First of all, the question was, under state law, when can you discriminate? 4 answers. One of them was owner-occupied, duplex, or up and down, 2-family. If the question said under federal law, and this option was there as well as an answer, if it said under federal law, it's owner-occupied as well, 1 to 4 family. Told you didn't hear this before. Heard something similar. Okay? So if the question was under federal law, when can you discriminate? They're going to put these 2 answers. They're going to put both of them. They're going to put the owner-occupant duplex or up and down 2 family, and they're going to put the 1 to 4. So you need to pay attention to, is it under federal law or they're asking under state law? You guys understand? The exemption is a little bit different. Federal, 1 to 4. State, only for 2 families, whether it's side by side or up and down, but it's 2 families. Duplex means side by side or up and down, 1 unit below another. Okay? You guys good now? Be careful next time you give me a thumbs up. Think about what you're going to thumbs up about. Always tricking you know that. And Erica, yes, I have to show up about passing the first time because I was under a lot of pressure. I made a bet. And guys, maybe sometimes that's what you need to do. Maybe you'll take things serious once you're held accountable, right? Make a bet with somebody, and I made a bet. Actually, somebody made a bet with me that I could not pass before that someone went on vacation. So they put a deadline. Hey, I'm going to go on this date. So I bet that you cannot pass until then. All right, that was the bet. And that was on the Monday. I passed on the Saturday. So yeah, I finished the course on the Thursday. I went to take the state exam on the Saturday. I drove all the way down to Brick, New Jersey, which is an hour and a half on a Saturday morning to be there at 9 a.m. Like, I don't get up that early. I go to bed that late. So I made the sacrifice just to win the bet. Yes, I don't like to lose bets. That's why I don't always bet stuff. Should I be taking the practice exam more than once? As many times as you can until you take the school, and once you pass the school, until you take the state. As many times as you can, take the practice exam. Okay? I'm paying for it, but I want you to take advantage of it. Okay, so every practice exam, every time somebody tests, by the way, I have to address this to 3 people that are here right now. Make sure you complete. If you start something, finish it. Because I do pay every time you guys test. So if you started and you answer 2 or 3 questions and then go on to your life, the exam ends and I got charged and you did not complete. Okay? So it's the only thing I ask. Test as many times as you can. As many times as you can. But make sure you're doing it. Don't start something that you're not going to be able to finish. Treat it as if it was a state exam. You have up to 4 hours. No distractions. Focus. Okay? That's one of the things I have to say. Okay? All right. So next. I did not say your name, but, you know, if the shoe fits. If the shoe fits, just saying. But you're not the only one, Ron. You're not the only one, don't worry. Mealy, what's up with the sad face? Do I get charged for Quizlets too? I pay that on a monthly basis, so no, don't worry about it. That's unlimited. But it hurts, I know. But look, I'm not putting this as I'm paying, so you better do it. No, what I'm trying to say really is, if I pay for it, if I give you guys this access for free, take advantage of it. Right? I don't care about how much I'm paying. I care about you actually doing it, using it. Right? I'm paying for all these resources. I told you yesterday that, yeah. No, absolutely. But it's also for you to see how good or bad you're doing. Because you get the answers and you get to see, okay, this is the answer. And then you read and you realize, oh, they asked about federal. They didn't ask, sorry. Then you read and go like, oh, they asked about federal. They didn't ask about state. So you realize, why are you failing? And most of the times I can guarantee you, 90% of my students, right, and all the students around the world most likely, 90% you guys do not pass. If you don't pass, it's because you did not pay attention to the comma. You did not pay attention to all of these except. You did not pay attention to under federal or under state law, right? It's a matter of paying attention. I can guarantee you most of the times that's what it is, all right? Like I tricked you before about the offers. How long do you have to keep the offers? And all of you went for 6 months. Why? Because that's what we had just read. You did not realize that I was not talking about unaccepted offers. You see what I'm saying? So that's part of the issue here. It's not about me knowing how good or bad you're doing, right? So let's switch this first of all. Good should be first, not bad. Right? How good or bad they're doing. It's about you self-assessing, right? And then asking me, hey, Bruno, question 31 on my exam, I really did not understand. I understand the other ones, why I failed, but this one I don't understand. Could you help me? And I go search your exam, as I'm doing right now for a student. She asked me a few questions on her exam, and I'm looking at it to figure out why, what it was, and then I explain what was wrong. Okay? But test yourselves. Keep going at it. Don't stop. You want to test once a day? Test once a day. You want to do it twice a day? Do twice a day. I had somebody that was nuts do it 3 times a day until they went to state exam. Right? I think they didn't even work. I don't know what they were doing, but 3 times a day taking the exam. And went to state exam and passed. Right? So just do it. Okay? You mentioned showing us a few tricks on testing. Will you still have time to offer those tips? I noticed I've been getting questions wrong that I second guess between 2 answers. Well, I've been giving you the tips as we go. I've been giving you the tips. One of them is very important. If it's a long question, very long question, skip it. You have an option there to bookmark. If you guys pay attention there, it says you can bookmark the question and come back to it later. So bookmark, move forward, right? If it's a long question, if you're unsure, if you're second guessing, skip it. You know why? Because sometimes you're on question 2, but the answer to question 2 comes up with question 35. So sometimes you have 2 questions that are very similar. One helps you answer the other. So now you can go back and like, okay, here I understood the question. This is the answer. So now you can go back to the other one and say like, okay, let me change. This is the answer. All right? Another thing is changing answers. So let me address the changing answers issue. Never, ever, ever, ever change answers. If you have to fail, fail because you have to fail. Period. But don't fail because you changed answers. Because then you're like, I wonder if that one was correct when I answered initially. So go with your gut feeling. Answer it. Fail on purpose, right? Answer it. Fail on purpose. And get to know why it was wrong. Versus wondering if you could have passed. You don't know how many times I'm here seeing your exams, and I'll talk about this in a second, but I'm here seeing your exam, and I'm looking at it as you guys are testing, and I'm looking at it like, oh, great. They're doing amazing, right? And then all of a sudden it goes from 83, 82, 81 right? And it keeps on going down to 70%, to 72%, to 50%. And I'm like, oh my God. Just end the test already. So I don't know if you guys ever watch sports or not, but Pedro and I here were like watching the best game ever, right? And all of a sudden, you guys are starting to lose, right? So we were like, yay, these people are passing. It's amazing, right? And they're like, oh, all right. And why? Changing answers. Most of the time, it's changing answers. And the worst part is I cannot tell you, I cannot go on the mic and scream, hey, Robin, finish the exam already. I cannot do that, right? That's not something I can do, right? I cannot come at you and say, hey, David, you passed. Come on, just submit, just submit. I can't do that, right? But it feels like it sometimes, like you already passed. Move forward, right? So you want tips, you want advice? That's it. Don't change answers. You're second guessing yourself? Answer one. Whatever your gut feeling says. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Just fail on purpose. You have to. So then you can review and understand why it was wrong. Simple as that. Okay? Remove the outcome. Remove the, oh, I have to pass. That's tip number 2 right here. 3. Forget the, I have to pass this. No. Enjoy the process. Do the best you can. If you pass, great. If you do not pass, look, you have a second chance, but at least you know where you are. That's as simple as that. Francielli, will you be able to use your Mac? Yes. I'm just going to have to give you a separate link because you have a Mac. Yes. Unfortunately, it's not compatible with everything. iOS always screws up my life because I need to have multiple ways for you guys to test. Yes. Millie, question. Can you give me a doctor's note to study? Yeah, my name today is... I'm no longer Instructor Bruno. I am Dr. Bruno. How are you? Here's the note. Sure. Okay. Yvette, can I fingerprint before passing the state test? Yes. Should have been fingerprinting already. That's my recommendation. Should be interviewing brokers already. That's recommendation. All right, let's go back to this. Francelli, don't apologize for the trouble. It's not my fault, and it's not, well, it is your fault you have a Mac, but don't worry about it. I'm here to help regardless of your poor life choices. I'm sorry. Can you tell how much I love Macs? As I was saying this morning, it's not about not liking Macs or iPhones. It's just compatibility. Like, you guys are in your own little world, and then every time you need to do something, somebody else needs to adjust to that, or you will never have that feature. That's the problem. Okay? Like Android and Windows users, it's pretty much plug and play. You know? Everything. All right. Okay, let's see. Better stay quiet. Yeah, I have a Mac as well. Fine. The day of, I'll give you a link for Macs. Elena, so Jeff asked this broker about their hiring process, and he said get his license first, then they can talk. All right. Cool. You want to know my answer to that? You really want to know my answer? That's my answer. Thank you, Erica. You guys got it? Simple as that. Get your license first. I need to know if I should even get into real estate. What do you have to offer, broker? Simple. No problem, Verona. I did get your message, so don't worry about it. You guys got it? Interview. If they don't want to interview, they're too busy or they don't want you. Simple. That's it. Okay. All right. Next, let's move on to this because we still got another one to go. Eureka, maybe. Right? Maybe. There's plenty you can go to, but look, there's plenty of good. Oh, there you go. Now it goes with the Spanish. Okay, there you go. All right, cool. Um, the there's plenty of great brokers out there. I'm not saying that these ones are not great. They're focused on people that are ready or more serious, sometimes not even newbies. So the same answer that they're giving you, Jeff, right now is get your license and then we'll see. Maybe when you get there, it will be the same thing. Hey, I need somebody with experience. You're not the right one for us yet. All right, come back later. So sometimes that's how they treat it as well. They could be great brokers, but it's not for you as a new agent. You know what I'm saying? So look for agencies. Newark is right around the corner. Anyway, look for agencies that are they're hiring just because, meaning they want to work with newbies. They want to train you guys. Like look for that. Okay. So if you guys need any type of recommendations, yes. So you wrote that you're in Belleville. There's a few places that I can definitely recommend for you guys to interview, but you have to ask. Okay. So let me know if you guys ever have a question of places around you, or if I have any suggestions, send it to me on WhatsApp, and I'll give you like privately on WhatsApp, and I'll give you some recommendations based on either where you live or what your goal is. Okay. Let's talk about blockbusting. Okay, so prohibitions, the rest of them you also know, but blockbusting, you guys know, it's when you're panic peddling, when you're scaring people into selling their homes because the composition of the neighborhood is changing, right? New Jersey added an additional rule to prevent blockbusting. New Jersey said, hey, if you're advertising to 3 or more homeowners during a single month within a particular block, you have to keep records of that for at least 1 year, right? So what they're asking you is that you keep permanent records. It doesn't say here, but it's 1 year. You need to keep it for 1 year at least, right? Permanent records of where you're advertising, to whom you're advertising, and how you're advertising. Why? Because if there's ever a complaint from a neighbor, hey, listen, why did you go next door and didn't come here? Well, what's so wrong about me? Is it because I look like a ghost? Right, David? Is that why you skipped? Is that why you skipped? So they need to know what's the reason that you skipped a particular door. Now, if your marketing at the time was, for instance, for people that have lived in the area for more than 5 years, that used to be the marketing before, now it's if you've lived there for more than 7 years, that's the average time that the average American family moves, right, or buys and sells. So if that's your type of marketing, look, it was not because of race, right? It was not because of color. It was not because of religion. It was not because of national origin. My advertisement was to this particular block to people that lived here for more than 7 years. Do you guys understand? So Yvette, I just answered your question with that. My advertisement was not specific on any of those protected classes. My advertisement was specific to people that have lived there for 7 years and might want to move to a different property or location, right? So that's the blockbusting in New Jersey. Everything else is the same. You cannot alter the contracts because of, or charge more because of, or reject showing because of religion, national origin, race, color, gender, or anything like that. Okay? Complaints. Guys, do you remember how long you have to file a complaint, a federal complaint? You guys remember there's 2 options to file federal complaints? Does anybody remember? Let me know in the chat if you remember. How long, under federal law, how long do you have to file complaints? Two years, Miguel. For what? Francielli, federal. 30 days. What if you don't know the law? Then how would you do that? 7 years. Are you guys just throwing random stuff? You know, when I said just throw something, meaning like your gut feeling of what you remember, not just throw a random number, right? So Miguel wrote, no. So Miguel wrote 2 years. 2 years is for a federal lawsuit. But you have 1 year to complain with HUD. Remember that? You have 1 year to file a complaint with the Housing and Urban Development if you felt that you were discriminated against. 1 year for HUD, 2 years for a federal lawsuit. Okay? Now, Francielli, you wrote what you just read, which is state law. Thank you. Under state law, New Jersey says you have 180 days, so 6 months. Remember unaccepted offers? You got to keep them for 6 months, because if somebody complains of potential discrimination, the statute of limitation is 6 months. 180 days of the alleged violation. Robin says, that's what I was going to say. Which part? That she put this? Or the 2 years or the 1 year? Okay. Or, again, so 6 months with the Division of Civil Rights or Attorney General, and then 2 years. Okay? Millie, there's no disregarding. Just keep on answering. It's fine. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And I'm here to give you a chance to, all of you, like, all of you are off. So except for Miguel, it was partially correct. But all of you are off, and it's totally fine. That's why we're still in class. Now, if you told me I'm a realtor and I've been doing this for 3 years and I still do not know this stuff, that was a problem. Okay? While in class, it's okay. State of New Jersey, 6 months, yes, to file a complaint with the Division of Civil Rights. Okay? Now, Millie, ready? Are you ready? If there's a complaint, the division will investigate and request that the person that violated, right, the violator, replies within 20 days. So that's why you're looking at 20 days maybe. Okay? You guys got it? So they have 20 days to respond. That's it. Now, if you are found guilty of discrimination, if you're found guilty, the Division of Civil Rights Director can order a cease and desist, so for you to stop discriminating. They can order payment for damages on pain and humiliation and other penalties based on the complaint. And there's also monetary penalties, which can amount for $10,000 for first offense, $25,000 for a second offense, $50,000 for a third offense. And the offender, so the violator, can also appeal that decision within 45 days. Okay. Next question. Does anybody remember the poster? The federal poster that must be everywhere? You remember that? It was like a house with an equal sign. Do you remember that? Yes? Like, maybe? Okay. All right, cool. So that's the federal poster. State of New Jersey, as I told you guys, also has their own poster. Not having the poster displayed at the office, at the real estate office, or at the model homes or anything like that, not having the poster displayed is the same thing as evidence of discrimination. So it's the same thing as saying you do discriminate, right? Now, can a broker say, oh, I did not know this? Come on. You went through pre-licensing as a salesperson. You went through ethics every 2 years here in New Jersey, right? And almost every state now has that, right? And 3 years later, or 4 years later, or 5 years later, you took a course about becoming a broker, which includes going back to basics. So tell me, in all these years of education that you did not know you needed to have a poster. You understand? So they will not look at you lightly if you're the broker and do not have this. In fact, the failing to do so is punishable by law. And how easy is it to get a poster? Simple, right? Very simple. It's called, one is called google.com federal poster or state fair housing poster. That's one. Number two, right here. Every book has a copy of it. Every book that you guys study will have a link or a copy to that particular poster. So it's not an excuse for any office not to have this stuff, okay? Now, in addition to the provisions of the New Jersey law against discrimination, rentals in New Jersey are subject to the following regulations. Okay, I see somebody's watching on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube and you have questions, drop them in the chat. I'll address them as we go. So I have the chat open. All right, so rentals are subject to the following regulations. So there's health regulations limiting the number of persons residing in the dwelling based on the size of the dwelling. So can I reject somebody because there are too many people coming into the apartment? Yes. Can I rent to somebody, it was one person, all of a sudden there's 10 people there, can I kick them out? Yes, based on health regulations. Can I say, hey, I rented to a couple, there's 2 people, right? Now all of a sudden there's 3, there's a baby. Like, congratulations on the pregnancy, but hey, gotta get out. Yeah, because if it's a 1-bedroom and now you have a baby, New Jersey health regulations say for 6 months the baby can stay with you, like in the same room, but after 6 months they gotta have their own room. Right, so those are federal and state regulations. Okay. Miguel's asking a question: is there any size requirement of the poster, like banks? So in this example here, it's an 8 by 11, so letter size. No, I don't have to put it like a full wall poster about do not discriminate. No, don't have to. Okay. Can I? Sure. Do I have to? No. But it must be visible. So it's not like, you know how employers do, like the whole labor law, and they put it in a closet somewhere. So yay, it's over there, right? No, it has to be posted where everybody can see it. So usually an employer, they have to put in a common area, like where all the employees go to. It's like a kitchen, for instance, right? Here in my office, for instance, we have right at the entrance. So as you walk in, the 2 posters are on your left. If you don't see it, you'll see it as you walk out. They're on your right. They're right there, right at the entrance. It's not like we're hiding somewhere. We thought about putting in the bathrooms as well, just in case, you know, somebody goes there and says, okay, do not discriminate, right behind the door. So once you close, you're sitting and you're looking right at it. We thought about it. But at the door is where we felt was more, you know, comfortable about talking about discrimination. Like, welcome, we don't discriminate. Goodbye, we didn't discriminate. That's how we saw it. Okay. Yvette. So can we discriminate if someone has a baby and it was supposed to be 2 people? I got that question wrong. Okay, great. The question you had, Yvette, was based on this. I cannot tell you that the lease is over because you got pregnant. No. But what I can do, like I said, is enforce, right here, I can enforce the health regulations. So I cannot put something on the lease that says, if you get a baby, you got to get out. No, I cannot put that on the lease, right? But again, if New Jersey law says 2 people per room, per unit, then I can follow that. And I can say, hey, congratulations, I'm going to give you X amount of months for you to leave because of health regulations. You understand? So that's why you had that wrong. So how would be the question? That pretty much what I just addressed. They will ask you if it will be okay, for instance, if somebody has a baby, right? If it will be okay to kick them out, to evict them, if that's a reason for eviction, for instance, right? That would be one of the ways they would ask. Or all of these reasons, right? For instance, all these reasons except, something like that. Like, okay, so which one of the following is discriminatory? So all these reasons except, or which one of these is, right? Discriminatory. So yeah, this is discriminatory. Oh, you got a baby, you got to get out. That's discriminatory. Remember, it's protected by familial status. Families with children under 18, it's protected clause, right? So I cannot kick you out. Unless the question clearly states, due to health regulations, right? Unless it does that, then this is discrimination. I cannot say that the lease will become null and void. Please get out now because you got pregnant. It's going to be like an infestation. More babies are going to pop. No, I cannot do that. All right? No. That's it. Yvette is saying, oh, all questions seem discriminatory. It was tricky. Remember I told you that I got stuck in one question for 14 minutes? Yes, they all seem discriminatory. Or, you know, but there are exemptions. What else? I can reject you based on health regulations, and I can reject you based on credit and based your ability to pay the rent, so income. So I can reject you. This might be a question as well. New Jersey protects your affectional or sexual orientation. That's a New Jersey specific law. Other states might have it, but federal does not. So sexual or even affectional orientation is protected. Marital status is protected. So if there's two members of the same sex that want to rent a one-bedroom apartment, I cannot reject that if it was available for two people of the opposite sex. That will be sexual harassment or discrimination based on sex or gender, all right, or sexual affection as well. So do those cases have to go? Oh, by the way, and that could be an actual question, something related to marital status or sexual or affectional orientation. State of New Jersey, if it's specific to state of New Jersey, clearly protects sexual or affectional orientation and marital status. Remember that's clearly stated. It might be a question. Robin's asking, do these cases have to go through legal eviction process? You're talking about the babies? Or you're talking about the health, this one right here with health regulations? Because this one is illegal. I cannot evict you based on this. But I can evict you based on health. Okay? Regulations. Meaning, hey, there's two, now there's three. And yes, I would have to go through eviction. Yep, absolutely. Go through court. Yvette's asking, so there's no laws for... No, that's what I said. You're sexual. There's no federal law to protect sexual or affectional orientation, right? But in this case, there's laws protecting homosexual. Yes, the sexual or affectional orientation or preference. Yeah. In New Jersey, it's protected. Millie, if you did not select all available correct options. If you got that, sometimes some questions do have a glitch on that and show up more than one option, right? So do not worry about that. Just click whatever is correct, right? And once you get your report, it says this was the correct answer. All right, so that was just an error that sometimes pops up. And I think there's 3 questions, and I'm still trying to correct those. But everything else is okay. During the actual exam, I usually see it, and I give you the credit for it. If it counts, yeah. It's not the close, is you must have picked the right answer. Most likely you picked the right answer, but then he gave you that random error. Otherwise, he wouldn't. If you had the wrong answer, it would be wrong. That's it, period. So Erica's saying, which of the following groups is not protected by federal fair housing laws? Okay. So she's posting the actual question instead of paying attention to the class, you see. Okay, can you put the answers too, since you're going at it? All right. Like I said, usually this is a mistake. People don't read that. Which one is not an issue? Okay. That's the answer. Which one is not protected? Okay. So 1988, they added familial status. Nope. 1988, federal law added familial status. Okay. National origin is protected as of 1968. Religion is protected as of 1968. Sexual or affectional orientation is under state law, not federal law. So they asked which one of these is not protected under federal law. They're not saying not protected. They're just saying not protected under federal law. Remember I told you that before? Pay attention to if it's federal or state law that they're asking. Yeah. So the answer would have been B. You got it? Tricky, I know. I'm telling you. Tricky, tricky, tricky. No, I'm not going to play RunDMC. No. Some of you know. All right, there you go. Anyway, if you guys don't know what it is, then you can also watch the movie White Chicks, and then we'll tell you who RunDMC is. All right, cool. Or at least they'll play the song. That's it. Another thing. It's gonna be a great one. We still have another chapter. Question. I did ask yesterday, but I'm gonna ask again. You guys feel like this as a kind of like a review? Is it helpful? Is it helping you guys remember stuff and understanding how things go? Give me a thumbs up if you got it. You're cool with that. Okay, great. All right, just don't forget, some of you are sending me questions separately, but the majority of you are not. So don't forget, I am accessible, and usually at crazy hours, I'll still answer, right? Unfortunately, last week and this week, I've been paying for it as well with my injury. It is tough to sometimes get to the phone and answer and pay attention. But for the majority of the time, I'm very accessible to answer questions. And if I don't answer right away, all I ask you guys is send me a million messages. Send me a million. Bruno, don't forget about me. Bruno, don't forget about me. Send me a million messages. I will answer. All right. Or also share the questions. As you guys see, sometimes they're shared in the WhatsApp group, in the Facebook group. Just put the question there and let somebody help you. There's students there that passed the exams already, right? They passed the exam and they're still there, and they're still there helping and answering some of the questions. So take advantage of that. That's like kind of like a network that I'm trying to create there, and most people are very helpful. So take advantage of that. If I feel like something is wrong, I will step in and say, okay, no, it's not this, it's that, and this is the reason why, right? It's not to make you feel bad, the one explaining, but it is to clarify for everyone, okay? So Francielli, whatever New York just said. Okay. I try to be. That's it. All right, cool. So moving forward, other rules or regulations that New Jersey implements. Landlords must not sexually harass a tenant. We talked about it. Service dogs must be allowed even in places or dwellings where pets are not allowed. So can we say, okay, no pets allowed? We can. Okay? We can say no pets allowed. But if it's a guide or service dog, we must allow the animal to be with you. Now, if it's a service dog, we cannot charge for a pet deposit. If it's a service dog, we cannot charge for a pet deposit, but we can charge for damage caused by the service dog. A complex. So if, let's say you own a unit that's 25 25 or more apartments. All right, Eric, I'm going to charge double. So if it's a unit, a building with 25 or more units, then you have to file an annual report. This is state only. Annual report with the Division of Civil Rights to say, hey, this is the racial composition of this building, and this is the type of marketing or advertisement that we do, and you have to prove that you don't use any type of discriminatory qualifications, right? And usually my question is very simple. If your property, if this 25 units is in a, mainly, or the majority of the people that live in the area are Hispanic, let's say, right? If that's the majority, then most likely the people that live in the building are going to be, right, conformity, like it's going to be Hispanics, most likely. What they want to know, what the Division of Civil Rights wants to know, is that you are not targeting just the Hispanics to live in the building. That's pretty much what they want to know. They want to know that the way you respond to inquiries and the way you advertise is broad to everybody. You're not excluding anyone from living there, right? I could be 100%, I'll get to that. It could be 100% Hispanic occupied or Latino occupied, but it could be 100%, right? But your advertising was not just for Latinos or Hispanic, right? And your inquiries, you never rejected anybody that was not from that particular group, right? So no discrimination. That's what they want to know. And every year, and by the way, it's for 25. Remember, it's 25 plus units. Now, Fabiola, does emotional support animals apply to this, or just service dogs? If I say no pets, and your pet is your emotional support, and you have that cute cards that you can get on the internet anywhere, right? Big, some bucks or whatever, and they give you the, oh, I need my emotional. You go through a quiz and they give you, yes, you need your emotional support pet. Then we have to allow it as well. And because of HIPAA regulations, we are not, that will be discrimination. We cannot ask you, hey, so emotional support for what? Right? We cannot ask you either. So yes, it goes with that too. But I can charge you a deposit. Service dogs, no, but emotional pets, yeah. Okay. Now, Mount Laurel 1, and there's a Mount Laurel 2 as well. So Mount Laurel is a township in New Jersey, and a few years ago, what they tried to do was target housing or development of housing only for upper classes. Okay, what does that mean? They did not want the poor to live there. Okay, they did not want the poor to live there. Hey, focus on me. Kick everybody else out of the room. Okay, so they did not want the poor to live there. So what they were doing is literally displacing, like they weren't building affordable stuff. They were displacing people that were there. And the mayor of Mount Laurel said if families cannot afford to live here, they should leave the town. Right. So, of course, in 1975, New Jersey Supreme Court said, sorry. So New Jersey Supreme Court said, no, we're not playing this game. Everybody's entitled to live wherever they want to live as long as they can afford it, period. All right? So, as it says right here, in response to the lawsuit, New Jersey Supreme Court ruled that all municipalities have to have zoning that allowed enough housing for people within all levels of income, including low and moderate income. So this decision barred or made exclusionary zoning illegal. What is exclusionary zoning? It means excluding the poor. Okay, exclusionary zoning means excluding the poor. Whoever did not have enough money, get out of town. That's what they were doing in Mount Laurel. Judge said, you have to provide a range of housing for all types of incomes. That's it. But did Mount Laurel listen? Of course not, because nobody listens. When you tell them not to do something, they're still going to do it. So Mount Laurel got sued again. Mount Laurel 2, right? So in 1983, they got sued again. Yep, 1983 right there. They got sued again. And the judge went like, oh, you didn't hear me last time? Well, now this is what we're going to do. They ruled now, on top of sanctions, they ruled that every single municipality must provide for the fair share of the original need for all levels of housing. In fact, they must have a 20% set aside for all developments. If the township does not have a 20% set aside for low income, right, low moderate income, they don't have a 20% set aside, no new development could be approved until they meet the quota. So if there's a new development, and probably you guys already have seen this or you've heard of this, new developments sometimes, oh, we're doing luxury apartments. No problem. But the town has not met the requirements. So 10 of your units or 5 of your units or 100 of your units need to be graded for low income. You guys ever heard of this? Even within a particular building, sometimes they separate. These are the low income units. These are the high income units, right? Not that that's discrimination in itself. Like yours gets luxury stuff and mine, oh, there's walls, right? No, that's not discrimination in itself. In New York, so let me address those New York ones. In New York, okay? In New York, there's a particular building where there's a lawsuit against that building. They got so ridiculous. It got so ridiculous because of the way the law was written, right? No, in fact, they're not all lotteries, but there's a bunch of lotteries out there. Yes, I know what you're talking about. It got so ridiculous in this particular building, and there's more, but this is the one that's suing. It got so ridiculous that what they've done is simply, here's the rich people entrance, here's the poor people entrance. Okay, wait, gets better. This entrance brings you to the rich people floor and amenities. This entrance brings you to the low income people floor and amenities. So you cannot even enter from the same door or through the same door as a upper class can. That's not discrimination itself, huh? The developer met the requirements, right? That was it. Nobody specified that you needed to have the same amenities for everybody. Nobody specified that, right? Anyway, that's how ridiculous things got. Otherwise, no. Okay, but you're being saved. Suburban towns, you're being saved. Remember. So nobody specified. Nobody specified exactly how it had to be. So these buildings were allowed. Developments were allowed because the cities, even though this became federal laws as well, the cities started. They have their own regulations, right? So yeah, we're complying with federal law, but in my town, this is what we do. So until somebody like the NACP takes action against certain groups or certain developers, until that happens, certain towns, until that happens, it's like discrimination. Discrimination never exists if nobody complains. Simple. Okay. Okay, so we have here the Council for Affordable Housing. Not going to be in the state exam, but I want to show you this. To date, the Council for Affordable Housing, for instance, has allowed some towns to be exempted from the fair housing requirements. Because what they do, one, is they choose not to grow. So we'll go to certain towns like Alpine, New Jersey. I don't know if anybody knows Alpine. It's a good example. Like the cheapest house there is like $3 million, as an example. It's like a ridiculously high-priced town. And they choose not to grow. Like they'll never sell or allow the people there to sell a particular parcel for a bigger development. Like they have like 10 acres of land. No, you cannot subdivide this land. We're not approving subdivision of this land for for smaller homes. No. And because there's no subdivision of the lands, the new structure must be according to the existing structure. So it's not a redevelopment, it's just renovation. Does that make sense? That's a type of thing. So because they're not growing, they don't need to comply with the rules of Mount Laurel 1 and Mount Laurel 2 decisions. Simple. Or one of the things that they allowed also under the fair housing, under the Councilman of Affordable Housing, they allowed other towns to take over the weight. All right? So it's kind of like, hey, we're not doing it, but whatever we were supposed to pay for this set aside, look, okay, so town next to mine, we're going to give you some incentive for you to house these people. We don't want them. We're supposed to have this quota. We'll give you some incentive. You take part of the quota obligations. That's it. You guys understand? So this law, and this is recent, right? This is like 20 something years old, right? 25 years old. This right here was not, it's still in development, right? And as it says here, we don't know what's the future of this council for affordable housing. We don't know the future. It's still in development. There's a lot of laws. If you guys notice, 1866 sounds like a long time ago. Yeah. But until 1866, there's 1,866 years, right? Anno Domini. So after year zero, forget the ones past, right? It's been only a couple hundred something years since these laws were instated. And then it took 102 years till 1968 for them to realize, hey, let's add more people to these exemptions. And then after that, it was 1974, 1988, and they keep on adding more protections as we go. Do you guys understand? So these are very recent laws, very fresh. So there's a lot of mistakes to be made before we actually figure out, hey, me and you, underground, we're the same. You guys understand? Like, my money does not go with me. But can't we treat each other the same? Like, so until that happens, it's like we're going to be here another 1,000 years, unfortunately, until people really realize, like, yeah, there's no point in fighting this anymore, right? We are the same. All right? Anyway, so very important, only because you could lose your license. Like, if you really don't care about other people or care about people from a different race, from a different color, whatever, if you don't care about those, just remember, you might lose your license and hefty penalties. At least remember that, okay? So you don't need to like them, but at least like yourself enough not to go to jail or have to pay a lot of money. Is that a better take to it? Like, whatever way you want to take it, just remember that. All right. NAR Code for Equal Opportunity. So the National Association of Realtors also partner up with HUD, right? And created these code of ethics and this partnership with HUD to say, hey, we're not federal, we're a private entity, but we'll work with you, federal. We'll work with you to make sure that our professionals, members of the National Association of Realtors, that they follow some types of guidelines. That's what we're doing. Now, the VAMA, or the Voluntary Affirmative Marketing Agreement, does not require any of us to sign something. I promise I will abide by these rules. No, we don't have to. It's voluntary, as it says, right? But if you don't follow, so you don't have to sign anything, but if you don't follow the rules, you could lose your license, okay? So again, you don't need to sign any document to demonstrate your commitment to it, but you could lose your license. Erica, so the result of Mount Laurel 1 lawsuit, okay, the result of Mount Laurel 1 and 2, both of them, the result is poor people cannot be excluded from residential areas, period. The result of Mount Laurel 1 and 2 is poor people cannot be excluded, or low moderate income people cannot be excluded from residential areas. Mount Laurel was trying to, and some other towns the same, trying to exclude the poor. Like, you're not good enough to live here. Can't do it. So that's the ultimate outcome of those two lawsuits. Okay? Okay, so the next thing we have is advertising discrimination. Okay. If you guys understand this first sentence, I don't need to talk anymore about this. The purpose of real estate advertising is to describe the property. Period. Okay? Not to describe the people that should try to buy. Right? So, the law prohibits direct or indirect discrimination in the advertisement. And you should remember, look at the HUD guidelines. I mentioned that. Look at the marketing guidelines, right? There was a link for that. Yvette, I got tripped up on the question about advertising discrimination. Yeah. So look at the guidelines that are presented. You cannot discriminate. So talk about the house. The house is 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's a beautiful house, the best house in the neighborhood. You can say that. That's not a problem, right? Because that's you're just giving your opinion, right? But you cannot say certain things like white couples only or stuff like that. Look right here. You could say great for family. And by the way, careful with these. These are changing along the way, so careful. Always keep checking. These are acceptable, like great for family or in-law apartment, whatever. But couples only and mature individual is unacceptable. Any advertisement regarding limitation, discrimination based on race, color, religion, and so on is illegal. For example, if you advertise that the property is close to schools, not a problem. Shopping in public parks, that's where it is. Not a problem. It's the property, right? But once you start saying close to nightclubs and adult recreational facilities, making this perfect for singles. Remember, state of New Jersey protects marital status. So, again, and familial status. So it's clearly showing preference for single adults, therefore discriminating against family or familial status, young adults or children. Another example, beautifully newly remodeled home in a great neighborhood. That's okay. Now saying, hold on, no dogs allowed regardless of reason. Handicap is a protected class, so fair laws allow individuals with disabilities to have a service dog, even when it says no pets allowed, right? So therefore, this advertisement itself violates the laws by stating regardless of any reason. So this is the key, regardless of any reason. Saying no pets allowed, regardless of any reason. If it said no pets allowed or no dogs allowed, period, right? Now I can come in and say, hey, service dog or emotional support, whatever. Okay, fine. So that's the exemption. I have to allow it. Okay, so there's certain words like this. Yvette, it might seem that all were discriminatory. Might seem. I told you. Sometimes it seems like it is. Okay, just like this one. Right? Like this one. Right? You wouldn't think, oh, this is discriminatory. No, I can say no dogs allowed. I can say that. Right? The thing that triggers here is this, regardless of reason. I don't care what your reason is, you're not bringing your dog. Period. No. We just talked about it. If it's a service dog, we have to allow. Okay? And Yvette, this is marketing. This is the part of marketing. So yeah. But make sure you guys go over the again the guidelines. Over the guidelines. We talked about this in another chapter, in the professional practices. Okay? Advertising on the billboards. Even worse. We're putting all over the city, hey, we discriminate. Hold on, I see you were typing. No? You gave up? Oh, okay. I thought you were typing. Oh, you're not chatting with me? You're chatting with somebody else? See how it is? I'm here waiting, expecting the question, right? Giving you the time, and you're just texting somebody else. See how it is? All right. Leases. Again, we already covered all this stuff. I know you didn't put a question mark, okay? Okay. I know you didn't put it, but I saw your hands right there. So because I'm used to people forgetting the question mark, right? I was expecting that your hands right there, as you usually do, is texting. Oh, now that's what you do? Got it. Pick up a puppy and be like, oh no, this is what I was doing. I was playing with a puppy. Yeah, she's getting smart, huh? All right, so leases. General requirements, same thing as contracts. Look right here. Same thing as contracts. And it says, Erica, that's exclamation points. That's not a question mark, so I'm moving forward. It says, legally, we need an open mic review. First of all, don't yell at me. First thing, right? No attitude, okay? Start off with exclamation, but attitude right there, and then yell at me, all caps. No. That's not the way you get things, okay? See what you started? A riot now. That's what it is. Yvette, yes. This is how you do it, guys. This is how you do it. Hold on. Happy hour review. Absolutely. After the exam. Now, where were we? For leases, same requirement. Says this is a legally binding lease that will become final within 3 business days. Just like contracts, legally binding contracts that will become final within 3 business days. During that period of time, again, you can bring it to an attorney to study the contract, issue notice of disapproval, and it starts counting from the moment that both the landlord and the tenant sign the lease and receive a copy of that. So from the date of delivery of the signed lease to both. Okay? So same thing as contracts. Statute of frauds, same thing as we covered in the previous chapter. If it's a contract for real estate transaction, must be in writing. If it's commission, must be in writing. And a lease that's for 3 years or more must be in writing. Okay? Let's say you want to record the lease. State of New Jersey says if the lease is for 2 years or longer, you can record it into public records. Everything else is the same. Okay. Now the leases, just like contract, they must contain the provisions of the contract, right? So in this case, it's a lease. So one of the things you must contain is the term of tenancy. That's common sense. How long are you going to stay here? It starts on this day, ends on this day. Will it be a month to month though? Right? So it must be clearly stated how this lease is supposed to run. Okay? The term of the tenancy, how long, how you're going to pay it, very important. Except for, very important you guys understand, late fees, right? If it's state of New Jersey, and most states also have something like this because of government pensions, like in this case it's Social Security, but Social Security or government pensions or anything like that, senior citizens on Social Security must be given a 5-day grace period. So technically, when are you late? You're late at the end, so the bill is until the end of the month. So if on the first of the month you still have not paid, I can charge you a fee, period. Okay, the law is, first of the month, I can charge you a fee if you have not paid me yet. But if you're a senior citizen on Social Security, government pension, or anything like that, then I must give you a 5-day grace period. And some of you are probably going to be like, well, but my lease says 5 days regardless. Yes. So here's the thing. My leases, they all say 5-day grace period. Why? Because I don't want to have to figure out who's on Social Security or not. But it's very simple. Just to release the headache, I give you an extra 5 days to all of you. No worries. Now on the 6th day, if you still did not get paid, on the 6th day, you are in court. Simple as that. See, in the state of New Jersey, not like other states, but in the state of New Jersey, I don't have to give you a notice that, hey, you're late, remember? Right? I don't have to give you a notice. So my attorney automatically sends a letter to the tenant and says, hey, you're in court. Plain simple. These are the terms of the lease. You knew it when you signed up. You got your 5 days, gave you the grace period. You're in court. Now, I can release it from court if you pay the rent, the late fee, and attorney fee. Simple. And no, I'm not a bad landlord. Most of my tenants, actually, we have good relationships, okay? It's just that I've been burned too many times, and I gotta treat this as a business, because it is a business, right? Would you allow somebody, let's say you own a restaurant, would you allow somebody to show up and say, hey, don't worry about it, just pay later, right? Or like you can, once in a while, sure, but all the time, there's people that do that. They'll just go in, eat, and walk away. I had some tenants like that. They will just pay, especially with late fees. The reason why I started doing this stuff right here, so you guys know, I had a tenant, really at that property that you went, actually. I had a tenant on the second floor, and this guy, he was a promoter of events. So as a promoter of events, one of the things that he did is at every weekend, he would make like $2,000, $3,000, whatever. So every single first of the month, he would not pay. But don't worry, we give him 5 days. Comes the second, third, fourth, fifth, he still did not pay. Comes the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, all the way to the 21st day sometimes of the month, and he still did not pay. And I'm like, hey, dude, what's going on? I was like, hey, I already have to pay you $100 anyway, so I can pay whenever I want. I'm like, that's not how it works. Because the $100 you're going to pay me, if it's 2 weeks, right, between when you pay me and when you should have paid me, or 3 weeks, it's causing me a lot of trouble. It's not just $100, right? But people take advantage of that. I'll pay late. I'm going to pay $100 anyway. But don't worry, Bruno, because next weekend I have this event and I'm going to make $2,000 and I'll pay you in full plus your late fee. That's not how it works. You understand? So I started changing my leases and become more strict with all my tenants because of that. Will I help people? Yeah, if you're humble and come to me and say, hey, Bruno, listen, this month this happened. Like, cool, no problem, don't worry. But this guy, he was not humble. He was just taking advantage. He was taking me for a ride, right? So, yeah, make sure you understand. Being a landlord, it's a business. Okay, it's a business. Treat it like a business. Very important. Miguel, you can only change the terms during the renewal. I can only change the terms by agreement. Simple. Now, the good thing is that the guy was so cool about it, like about the thing that he can make $2K a Saturday, right? He was so cool about it. And when I said, okay, that's the game you want to play, no problem. We're going to change the terms to being per diem. So every day that goes by, you're going to pay a percentage. Right? He's like, Bruno, no problem. And he signed. So yeah, instead of $100, sometimes he paid $200, $300. Now I'm happy. Now you can be late every month. Not a problem. So Miguel, by agreement. He agreed. I agreed definitely. And that's how he went. All right, security deposit. Guys, you already know what the security deposit is for. The thing is, in New Jersey, the max that you can charge as a security deposit is 1.5 months as security deposit. Other states might have 3 months as security deposit max. Other states might have no rule regarding that. But New Jersey, the max that you can charge is 1.5 months as a security deposit, plus the first month before you go in, right? So that's cool. You guys got it? No more than that. Have you seen, by a show of hands, have you seen ads that say 2 months or people that charge you 2 months or more? By a show of hands. Anybody? All right, a bunch of them, right? Illegal in New Jersey. I called one apartment the other day for a client of mine. There you go, illegal, Millie. I called an apartment for a client of mine, and great apartment, beautiful, remodeled, and the guy wanted 3 months. I said, nope, not in Jersey. Jersey, the max is 1.5 for security deposit and then 1 month's rent, right? And he's like, nope, if they don't give me 3 months, I'm not renting. Well, sir, here's the thing. You have to understand that in New Jersey, the max is 1.5. So that's illegal. And it's like, oh, I don't care. In New York, this is how we do it, and this is how I'm going to do it right now. Because in New York, it could go up to 3 months or something like that, right? So we did not rent. They rented to somebody else. I don't know the rest of the story, so don't ask me if they paid or did not pay. But here's Millie writing, my son paid, was required to pay 2 months. Cannot at all. In fact, you can even report them to the Division of Community Affairs. That's where you address issues with rentals, for instance, okay? And if they are charging more than 1.5 months, they could be reported. You can even take them to court if you accepted that and you found out later, okay? Now, what's the use of a security deposit? Final repairs. So one of the things that New Jersey specifies, and it's common sense, is that you can only use the deposit for that. What does it mean? Does that mean, oh, there's repairs needed, so I'm going to keep all the money? No. New Jersey says, within 30 days of the end of the lease, I got to give you an itemized deduction for all the damages. Hey, deposit was $2,000, and I had to take $100 for this, $50 for that, $5 or $7 for this, for that. I had to itemize what I spend the money on. You know why? Because as a tenant, you have the right to dispute those charges, right? Something I did not know back in 2004. Something I did not know. I moved into, I was renting at the time, move into this place and then move out it. Normal. When I moved out, the deposit I think is $1,850, right? And the guy kept all the money, and he was a friend of mine, so that's the best part. No longer friends, just so you know. So $1,850. That was the deposit, and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you guys something in a second. $1,850. The issue was he was not there when I did the final walkthrough. I did it with his son. Did the final walkthrough. And I was waiting for him to come back from vacation, right? He comes back and goes, well, I called him up, actually. September 23rd. I remember clearly. September 23rd, I called him up. Hey, how was your trip? Right? And he goes like, oh, it was great. I mean, we're friends, so we're talking about it. I used to live right there in his apartment. We're talking about it. My wife at the time, my firstborn was raised there and everything. So we had a very good relationship. And I go like, hey, so like after like a good 10, probably 15 minutes of talking about how Portugal was and how things were here and how was the summer and the differences, right? And we're just chatting away, right? After a good 10, 15 minutes, I ask him, so Joe, here's the thing. I'd like to know when can I pass by to get the deposit? His answer is, like, he turned from best friend to the devil in like 2 seconds. What are you talking about? I'm not giving you anything. This was missing. That was missing. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys what was missing. You guys know what a carbon monoxide detector is? Great. You guys know what a smoke detector is? Two different things, right? So supposedly, I never seen them, but supposedly he had top of the line, smoke and carbon detectors. So like they were combined into one. So he had 3 of those supposedly. I just remember the cheap smoke detectors, never a carbon monoxide, but okay. Let's assume that they are the top of the line, best ever, and they're combined 3 smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors, whatever. That day, I went with my very old, at the time was the Blackberries, if you guys remember those devices. It was a Blackberry. It was the coolest thing for business back then. So I had it. I invest a lot in technology for business. So yeah. So I had the Blackberries. And I go there and I go on Home Depot. Yes, they had a website. So I went on Home Depot and I searched smoke detectors, carbon combo, whatever. Pack of 3 at Home Depot back then in 2004. Pack of 3, $120 something. And this guy, not to say something else, this guy wanted to keep $1,850 of my money because of $120 smoke detectors. Top of the line. Yeah. But here's the thing, guys. It's $1,850. The money I'm going to spend on an attorney, this is what I was thinking back then. The money I'm going to spend on an attorney, the time it's going to take for me to collect the money. I say, you know what? Cut my losses. Remember I said that yesterday? I'm going to cut my losses. That's it. Whatever. It's only $1,850. That's what it is. That's how I put it in my mind so I didn't go crazy. Right. You're right, Francelli. That's why they do that. But it's also because I did not know this. I could have given the attorney $1,850 and still get my way on $1,850. Failure to give you an itemized deduction of everything and return the money to you makes the landlord liable for double the amount of the deposit in the state of New Jersey. I wish I knew it back then. But don't worry, he was publicly shamed several times. Because we went to the same spots, we were friends. Right? And no, I didn't have to do anything, so don't worry, I didn't do anything. But it was cool. It was cool to be sitting there at the restaurant, at the bar area, for instance. I'm having a coffee, and he's there eating, and he's like trying to see if I look at him or if I'm talking about him. It was cool. Whatever. Right? I wish him 3 times whatever he always wishes me. Simple. If he wishes me well, 3 times that. If he wishes me bad, sucks for him then. Simple as that. Karma. Next, another requirement that New Jersey has, and look, almost every state has something similar, which is, where is my deposit? New Jersey says, where is my deposit? It belongs to the tenant. Where is the tenant's deposit? So you need to have the name and address of the bank where it will be deposited. Why? Because it's not the landlord's money. It does not belong to the landlord. It belongs to the tenant. The landlord is holding that deposit hostage over the next couple of months or next couple of years, whatever. Right? So they're holding it hostage. It's your money. If you destroy the apartment or don't pay the rent, I can keep it. Right? But if not, then it must be returned. The money must be returned, right? In fact, New Jersey says if you're holding somebody else's money, you also have to put, first of all, in an account separate just for deposits. And second, right here, it's an interest-bearing account. What does that mean? You're holding somebody's money, so you better be earning them money. Put it right there and make sure it's earning them money. Them, not you. So the tenant is entitled to all the 37 cents of interest at the end of the year. All right? Doesn't matter how much it is. And I'm saying this because the other day, it's the funniest thing. The other day, I'm sorry, about a year ago, I was teaching this and somebody said, I got 12 cents back. And I'm like, yeah, the letter, the paper, the envelope, the paper, and the stamp cost more than what they had to pay you. And the check too. More than what they had to pay. And the hourly rate of whoever wrote that check cost more. But the money is yours. You're entitled to it. Crazy, right? You guys have any questions before we move forward? All right, cool. There's one thing. Hold on. Let me see if it's here before I move forward. No, most people don't know this. Nope. All right. Let's go back to, real quick, let's go back to security deposit. There's one thing that's mentioned here, and then there's one thing that's not. Okay. So right here, normal wear and tear is not included. Okay. So if there's smudges on the wall, this is a wall for me. I'm sorry. For you, it's a screen, the book, whatever, but this is a wall. But if there's smudges on the wall, that's normal wear and tear. If the carpet is faded, that's normal wear and tear. If the faucet doesn't open or close, it's normal wear and tear. It's different from destruction. It's different from holes on the wall because I put stuff on the wall. It's not natural for that to happen. I took action for that to happen. Does that make sense? If I painted a wall blue, like I have here, I have blue walls, and the other wall I painted yellow, that's not how I gave it to you guys, right? So that's not normal. I need to restore it back. You need to restore it back to original condition, or I'm going to need to paint it so I can deduct for that. So normal wear and tear, not included in the deductions. If it's something that was altered on purpose or damaged on purpose, then I can, I guess I just explained that one to you. So the repainting, repainting for the new person. That's what you're saying? Right. So as far as repainting for the new person, I need to give it to you in habitable condition. Is that a good answer? Habitable condition, right? Are you going to die from a little smudge on the wall? Probably not. There's no real requirement for painting apartments before I give it to the next one. No, there's no real requirement. Okay? But anyway, how can I use the money, deduct the money for stuff that's normal wear and tear? Now, one of the things that doesn't say here, and it's very important, and a lot of people take advantage of it. The deposit is intended for repairs. It's not intended for last month's rent. There's a lot of people that say, hey, listen, I'm about to leave, so could you use the deposit towards the rent? No, it's intended for final repairs after you leave, right? So landlords, one, you're shooting yourself in the foot, and tenants, it's going to cost you more money if you do that game, right? Because after you leave, if there's damages, you're going to be held responsible because the money was used for rent versus repairs. So now I can go after you for the full repair instead of partial. Like you already forgot about that money, right? So the security deposit cannot be used like for last month's rent. More. I can charge you for attorney fees. I have to, right here, I have to specify what the tenant is allowed to do in the unit or not, what utilities the tenant will pay for, how's the trash going to be disposed, all that stuff. But also, I need to, if I'm the one that furnishes heat, so from the utilities, I'm the one that furnishes heat, I must keep the rooms at 68 degrees between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. and 65 degrees at night between 11 and 6 a.m. So I need to keep those are the minimum temperatures. I cannot go below those temperatures. And that's that's winter time. So that's between October 1st and May 1st. So autumn, winter and spring. Repairs and maintenance. I told you guys about this already. In New Jersey, you are authorized to do repair of the property. So if the landlord, you ask the landlord to do something and they did not do it, you're authorized to take action if these repairs are vital condition. You cannot say, hey, the light bulb, right? Oh, landlord, come in and replace a light bulb. Otherwise, I'm going to deduct from rent. No, you cannot do that. But if it's something that's vital, right? If it's something that's vital, New Jersey does allow you to repair and deduct if the landlord does not do it within reasonable time. Okay? So again, the landlord is responsible for the implied warranty of habitability. I'm giving you an apartment that you can live in, period. Okay? We just talked about pets. Landlord entry to the unit. We talked about this as well, guys, right? Guys, make sure you're on camera. If I don't see you, then we're going to have a problem with accounting for hours. So make sure you are on camera. Some of you are pointing at the ceiling. Some of you, I see your forehead. All right, so make sure it's pointing at you. Very important. Okay? Landlord entry to the unit. Guys, we talked about this also in leases, in the national portion. I can enter your unit. It's one of my rights as a landlord is to enter the unit. It's also one of your rights to keep me away from your unit. It's your unit, right? But if there's an emergency, I can go in if there's an emergency, or if I give you enough notice. So the lease has to stipulate what are the rules of the landlord entry to the unit. Mine says that once every 6 months, we will inspect the unit. We'll give you a notice at least 24 hours before. That's it. But it stipulates there. Also, tenant behavior. So these are reasons for eviction. So if you have disruptive behavior, if you have illegal activities there, property destruction, whatever, then we can evict. These are reasons for eviction. We have to disclose, just like sales, if it's a property built before 1978, we have to disclose the potential lead-based paint. So tenants, you need to know this property was built before 1978, so there might be lead-based paint. I'm not required to test, but I'm required to let you know about the dangers of lead-based paint. Simple. All right, we got to let you know if it's in the flood zone, the landlord's and tenants' rights and responsibilities. Yeah, okay, it's coming up. So names and addresses of the property owners, managers, superintendents, and look at this one. New Jersey says that you're entitled, as a tenant, you're entitled to know who I am, right? Not a problem. But also, you need to know who I owe money to, right? Why do the tenants need to know who you owe money to? Like, who's the mortgage holder? Who's the bank? The creditor? Why do... Let's look at this. What do you guys think? Why do you as a tenant need to know who the mortgage holder is? Like, property owner, I understand. Managers, I understand. Superintendents, I understand. But mortgage holders? Why? Let me know your opinion on this. You do not owe rent? Know anybody that rents? Like, was that laughing or therapy? I don't know what that was. Cool. Here we go. And no, Muslima, no. I'll explain that right now, actually. So yes, in case the landlord defaults, in case of foreclosure, no, yes, 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 and yes. Well, let's address this one. No and a big no. That's a big no-no. Just because I'm not paying the mortgage doesn't mean, the mortgage loan doesn't mean that you are entitled to not pay rent. That's a big no-no. New Jersey Anti-Eviction Act actually says that if it's a case of foreclosure, right? If it's a case of foreclosure, the new owner cannot kick out the tenant. But it also states that every tenant must be notified that the property is in foreclosure. So you'll get a notice from the sheriff or whoever it is serving. And that particular notice also says, as a tenant, you have to keep your payments to the current owner of record. Law, you have to keep your payments to the current owner of record. Because look at this, okay? Let me address this real quick because this is very important. There's a lot of people losing homes because of something like this, right? You don't know why I stopped paying my rent, my mortgage. You have no idea, okay? You have no idea. Was it because I lost my job? Was it because I went through a divorce? Was it because somebody died in the family and I had to support or whatever, right? You have no idea why I'm not paying. But what I can guarantee you is if I'm not paying now because of that and you stop paying me, I'm definitely going to lose the house. Does that make sense? So this is why New Jersey says clearly, tenant, you have to pay the current owner of record. Period. The lender and the courts will deal with the owner of record, not you. And then later on, So later on, right? Yeah, right here. Until the issue is resolved. And then later on, once it switches, like I'm going to make a statement to the bank, hey, this, or to the court, I'm losing the house because my tenant's not paying me. I mean, I stopped paying because of hospital bills, like I went to the hospital or I lost my job or whatever. This is the reason, Your Honor, right? But then my tenant decided not to pay me. Guess what? There's a record that you're non-paying tenant. At that point, you can be evicted. You could be kicked out, right? Because you're a non-paying tenant, right? So once it switches to a new owner because of auction or whatever it might be, the new owner cannot kick you out if you are an abiding tenant, if you are a paying tenant. They have to honor the lease as if you were still with the previous owner, the one that lost, or a landlord that lost the house. You guys understand? Okay, great. The question is exactly because of what I'm explaining, right? As a tenant, as soon as you know there's a default, you're not entitled to stop paying, but you can let the mortgage holder know, hey, wait a minute, I'm here. I'm a paying tenant. I'm here. I've been paying. Here's my proof. If you need anything, I've been paying the landlord. So it's not on me. It's on them, right? That's what you're saying. So as a mortgage holder, you're entitled to know if there's tenants. As a tenant, you're entitled to let the mortgage holder know, in case of default, I'm here. Rescue me, right? Don't let me go. That's what it is, okay? And guys, please notify, because this is a clear misconception a lot of people have. So Muslima, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, but a lot of people think, oh, you're not paying, I'm not paying, right? You could help. I used to be in the loan modification, short sale, deed in lieu type of business. So helping people not lose their homes. And one of the most common issues was my tenants figured out that I was not paying, so they stopped paying me. Like, there's no way for me to recover. We need to talk to the bank and negotiate a loan modification or a short sale or something type of agreement, right? So we had to. Well, what I used to do at the time was print the law, the New Jersey law that says, as a tenant, you have to, or you'll be evicted. I told most of my people that I was helping out at the time, I said, listen, talk to an attorney, and then things changed. Even my whole business had to be under an attorney. So we became a processing company for attorneys. But anyway, so I would tell them to go to attorneys and tell the attorneys, hey, listen, my tenant's not paying. I'm not paying the mortgage because of this, and that, but my tenant stopped paying me, and it's not helping my issue with the loan modification or with the short sale or whatever. Attorneys automatically start eviction process. Nobody's entitled to live for free. Like the landlord's going to pay repercussions for not paying the mortgage, right? Like bad credit, potential bankruptcy, or potential foreclosure. They're going to get hurt anyway, right? As a tenant, you could get hurt as well. So start telling everybody that because the landlord defaults, that does not mean, or tell the landlord, hey, life sucks. I know this happened to you. Especially now, guys. Especially now, we're back at this. We're back at this. Foreclosures. We're back at this. Defaults. Tell the landlords, if tenant's not paying, there might be recourse. So make sure you go talk to an attorney to see what your legal options are. There's a lot of protections, guys, as you know right now. So this is being recorded October 21st, right? So there's a lot of protections for the tenants, right? And there's a lot of options for landlords because of the pandemic. But let them know, both sides. If somebody says, oh, I'm not paying because they're not paying, no, you have to pay. Otherwise, you get kicked out, right? And for the landlord, let them know they have to pay. They're not paying, there's resources. I think I mentioned this right at the beginning, right? There's resources for both the tenant and the landlord. So guys, go look for it. Never, ever, ever think that you can live for free, right? There's always something. Next, that must be included is this, which talks about these things as well. The Truth in Renting Act. So in New Jersey, Truth in Renting Act. It's a pamphlet that talks about the rights and responsibilities for both the landlord and the tenant. This is a summary of the whole leasing portion of this course. This right here, the Truth in Renting Act, should have been like a course for people that want to be homeowners. Because this not only must be, right, must be given to all the tenants, but it also must be posted right here. Must be posted in the building. Failure of the landlord to do so results in a penalty of up to $100 for each offense. So you must provide to every tenant a copy of this and post it in the building. Okay. So requires that you provide that to tenants. Okay. Very, very important. ADA, guys, we already talked about the ADA several times. You know, it's about Americans with Disability Act in commercial settings, and we have to reach reasonably achievable accommodations. I have nothing highlighted here because we just covered it the other day. And let's talk about this. Yeah, most people don't. Most people don't know about any of this stuff. Most people don't. In fact, actually, do me a favor. I do this in a lot of classes. So do me a favor. Raise your hand if you knew about everything that we just spoke about right now regarding rentals. Just Robin? That's it? Nobody else? Keep your hand, raise your hand now if you're a landlord. Okay, 4 hands. Okay, cool. Robin, you're not a landlord? And you knew about this and nobody else did? The actual landlords did not know? Messed up, isn't it? There's no course. Like, you want to buy a house? Great. You want to buy a house? Great. Congratulations. You're a homeowner. You're a landlord. That's it. There's no course that says how to be a landlord before you buy the house. Nothing. Right? So yes, you're a tenant. That's why you know some of this stuff. Okay. So yeah, most people don't. I addressed landlords because this responsibility is more on the landlord than on the tenant. That's why I asked landlords. But as a tenant, if you live in a place that has like some type of property management, it's almost guaranteed you receive these notices, right? If it's a 1 family, 2 family, 3 family, something small, the landlord does not know and you will not know. All right. Let's go back to this. So we talk about rent control, and Erica said no rent control. True. In New Jersey, we have no state law that regulates rent increases. They put that on the municipalities. So individual municipalities may have some type of rent control. State of New Jersey, the law just says reasonable increases are allowed. That's it. That's the rule. Reasonable increases. And you're probably like, what's reasonable? Right? That depends on the judge when they hear the case. Okay. Now, some municipalities, they have actual numbers. Like in Linden, I think it's 3.5, or CLI, cost of living index, whichever is less. That's the most that you can increase. Or, as an example, for residential 1 to 4. I'm sorry, 1 to 3. If it's 4 or more, the game changes. Right? So you need to know each town or market that you're going to be participating in. You need to know what the rent control rules are. All right? How many municipalities we have in New Jersey, for instance? Right? Do you really want to know the rules for every single one of them? This is why I focus in Newark. I don't need to know the rules for Elizabeth, Linden, or anything like that. I don't need to know the rules for Atlantic City. I don't need to know the rules for Summit. I don't care. My market is Newark, and I'll know the rules for Newark. Become the pro at your market and then partner up with somebody that's a pro in another market. Okay? Simple. This is why Miguel will never be able to steal my... No, just kidding. Next. Muslima, if you get it if you have Section 8 tenants. Yes. So, like it says here, like a quarter, almost a quarter of the state of New Jersey, almost a quarter, so roughly 100 municipalities, have some type of rent control, right? But I'm glad you brought that up. I have Section 8 tenants. Yes. Even though your town might not have rent control, if your tenants are Section 8 tenants, the government stipulates rent control in those type of properties, which is okay. I don't mind. They still pay better, and they still pay on time. You know, so if the difference is like $100 or $200, I'm not worried. At least it's there every first of the month. Okay. Worst case scenario, third of the month. So Section 8 is is state-based. Each state has their own rules. In fact, every municipality has their own rules for Section 8 within the Section 8 housing funds. Okay, that's what it is. There's a federal money that's distributed to the states, but then the state has their own rules for Section 8. That's it. So there's housing assistance by the federal government, but state has the rules for what's called Section 8 housing vouchers, or what's called the I just had it right at the tip of my tongue. Damn it. TRAs, temporary rental assistance. Okay, so Section 8 could be more like a permanent thing or a long-term thing. The TRA is I'm between places, or I just lost a job and I'm trying to get a job, and it's temporary assistance. So that's the Section 8 or TRA vouchers. It's government assistance. Elena says Newark's huge. Yeah, and I still rule Newark, period. I'm just kidding, guys. Right now, I don't even do I don't do much of real estate. So I'm helping most of my focus, and my partner's focus, Pedro, is right now is not doing the real estate, but it's helping others grow within the business. So not too worried. Miguel, you can have some. Elena, you can have some of Newark too. Like, I'll give you like the smallest zip codes for you to work at. Don't worry. All right. All right. So we addressed this. Leases must include an expiration date, of course. Party who wishes to terminate the lease must provide notice. Okay. If you want to end the lease, you must provide notice. So if I'm the landlord, I must tell the tenant. If you're the tenant, you must tell the landlord you want to end. Except for... You guys remember this one? Estate for years. Okay. Estate for years was the... estate for years is the definite period estate. It's where I told you there's a check-in, there's a check-out, right? It's where I told you like the hotel, like an Airbnb or anything like that. It could be a 1-year lease for residential. It could be a 1-year lease for commercial. It could be a 6-month lease for commercial. It's estate for years. I understand, confusing, but it's a definite estate, which says I check in right now and I check out right now. That means I don't have to give you a notice for you to leave, and you don't have to tell me that you're leaving. Okay? We already said from the beginning, from the get-go, we said, hey, on this date, I'm leaving. So as the time goes by, we reach this date. Do I need to call you? No. Do I need to send you a notification? No. Do you need to tell me? No. You can just get up and leave, or renew the lease depending on the terms we had. Okay? If it's a tenancy at will, we got to give you 3 months. 3 months for year to year. 1 month notice for month to month. 1 week notice for week to week. And I want to address this real quick. because there might be a question in the state exam. Guys, what's a 1 month notice? Let me know in the chat. What's a 1 month notice? Nope. Aha. Somebody was researching. 1 month. 1 month is 30 days before the rent is due. When is the rent due? Whatever day we stipulated. Okay? So I just want to be clear, because it's not 30 days, right? It's 1 month before the rent is due. So if the rent is due on the 5th, as an example, then the previous 5th is when I have to give you the notice. Simple. Okay? And so technically, I'm sorry, it's not even the 30 days. It's 1 month before. Because if we're on the 28th day month, right? It's not 30 days before. It's again 1 month before the rent is due. So the 1 month notice, right? So let me correct that. It's not the 30 days. 1 month notice, right? This was close. I'm sorry. I fell for that too. It's 1 month before the rent is due. That's what it is. 1 month before the rent is due. Not lease expiration. So let's mix these two, okay? It's 1 month before or prior to the rent being due. Because if it's a 28-day month again, and the rent is due on the 1st, let's say, then it's the 1st of the previous month. There's only 28 days. Okay, so it's not a 30-day notice. It's a 1 month before the rent is due. So make sure you guys take note of that. 1 month before the rent is due. Not 30 days, because some months have 31 days, some months have 28 days. So 1 month, or the day before, 1 month before the rent is due. So it's on the 5th. That's when I have to give you that notice that I'm leaving. Okay. We already talked about this. The lease does not terminate on the sale of the property. The new landlord must comply with the new terms, right? Well, with the current terms. They cannot change the terms of the lease, right? And the Jersey Anti-Eviction Act also stipulates the reasons or the grounds for eviction. These are some of the reasons why you might be evicted and how much notice I have to give you. If it's disorderly conduct or property destruction, this is all, by the way, in the Truth in Renting disclosure, I have to give you a 3-day notice and let you know, hey, listen, I've heard you've been like loud, it's every day. So if you don't calm down, if you don't behave, if you're not within the current guidelines for this building or community or whatever, I'm gonna have to evict you. That's what it is. Oh, I heard you've been destroying the property. If you don't fix what you destroyed, I'm gonna have to evict you. You guys understand? So I have to give you a 3 days notice for that. For non-payment, I can go straight to court. Everything else, right here, there's notice requirements, things I can do or not do. Okay. I cannot evict the tenant except for one of the following good causes. Again, failure to pay the rent, I don't need to take you to court. Continued disorderly conduct, destruction, violation of the rules, violation of the lease. So there has to be something for me to take you to court and evict you. Everything else is based on good faith. You guys understand? So I cannot evict you for any of these. Okay? And now, something specific in New Jersey. If I live, landlord, if I live in one of the 3 or fewer units, so it's a 3-family or less, if I live in one of the units, I do not need to prove cause for eviction. I still need to take you to court, but I do not need to prove. If it's 4 units or more, then I have to go by one of these right here. Okay? 3 or less, hey, I need this person out. That's it. I don't need to give a reason. Now, obviously, the judge will probably ask the reason and all that stuff, but I don't have to. Illegal eviction is a criminal offense, and New Jersey law prohibits the following. What is a self-help eviction? It means I did not take you to court. So New Jersey, evictions must be through court order, period. I cannot give you a notice, hey, you're out, and that's it. No. I cannot lock you out. Change the locks when you get home, right? Wait until they get home. Change the locks. No. Turn off utilities. No. Threats. No. Big, big, big no-nos. You cannot do any of these in New Jersey. Everything has to be through court order. Period. Okay? Very simple. And there's some... it's funny that this is here because there's a lot of... And I'm sure it happens in every single nationality, right? But being Portuguese, I can talk about my people, right? And my people are funny. My people... It's my house. I do whatever I want. Take me to court if you want. It's my house. You're not paying. You're out. I'm changing the locks. I am shutting down the utilities. In fact, I'll grab all your stuff and put it out there. When you come home, pay me and I might bring it in. Simple. Portuguese, like that, especially like the old Portuguese, they're like, nope, we're not playing this game. I'm above the law. That's what it is. Right? You got it? But again, I'm sure in every single country or cent, there's something like that. I'm sure Americans do that to do that as well, right? The funniest thing. I bought a house actually. Bought a house a couple of years ago. Oh, it's funny. You know what? Actually, again, I can give you so many stories about this house. The house, Millie, that you went to, so many stories. You did not see it when you got there for that inspection, right? But when I got the house, it was from a foreclosure, and in the basement was connected to the first floor, but the first floor tenant, so he was Brazilian, she was Portuguese. I don't know why we mixed. We put him like we were like an ocean apart and still find a way to get together. I have no idea, right? Like you stay there, I stay here, but no, we still meet somewhere. Anyway, but husband Brazilian, she was Portuguese, and guess what they did? So I was talking about the Portuguese people, right? Let's talk about Brazilian people. Guess what both these people did? Same mindset. You cannot tell me otherwise. Same mindset. We're gonna rent the basement. It doesn't belong to us. This is not our house. The owner's losing the house, right? But we're going to turn this, first of all, the living room became a salon. It's residential. Living room was a salon. Even had a tanning bed, believe it or not. Had a tanning bed there. The basement they rented, so they subleased to somebody else. A single mother, right? When we bought it, first of all, it took us 9 months to be able to evict these people. First of all. But we found out so after getting the property, we found out from the tenant in the basement, right, that one, they had the first floor had access to the utilities. So if the basement tenant did not pay for the rent to them, not to the landlord, to them, they would turn off the heat. They would turn off the water. So we're not even talking about the landlord. This is tenants. They were doing this stuff, the tenants, right? So again, I've heard other stories about other people as well, not just the Portuguese or Brazilians. It's everywhere. It's unfortunately it's people's mindset. you know. Millie says it was a nice house, though. It was after we did what we did. You have no idea how that was. On the second floor, I don't even know what was on those walls. I just know everything was black. Like, imagine the beginning of the quarantine. Like, no toilet paper. I think that's what they did on the walls. Like, hey, we got to clean somewhere. Right? It's almost the same thing, but this was 5-6 years ago. It was that house was like ridiculous. Right? It was ridiculous, the things we went through. Yes, Francelli. When I said Portuguese or Brazilian, I'm definitely joking around. There's crazy people everywhere. It's just I can talk about my people. That's all. And my people are crazy. Anyway, Yvette, is the court process long and difficult in New Jersey? No, but these people, like there's some people that are called professional renters. My very first property. Right, in 2005, my very first investment in 2005 was 2 properties that we bought, my dad and I. My very first property, listen, my tenant was a professional renter, my first tenant. I almost quit real estate right there and then. She knew exactly how to play the game. So there's people that know how to extend this thing, right? They know how to get to court and say, oh, please, this happened, that happened. They cry and then whatever. If there's hardship in New Jersey, let me see if it shows here. No. But in New Jersey, if there's a hardship, they're allowed to stay for up to 6 months. They just have to prove there's a hardship. Like my attorney, 30 days, worst case scenario, 45 days, you're done. Right? Worst case scenario. My attorney, like he's a pro at it. That's all he does. It's just literally evictions. Right? Remember I said you don't hire a general practice doctor to go perform heart surgery, right? Or brain surgery, anything like that, right? So you get someone specialized in it. And that's what this guy does, right? All right, let's address this. What about the landlord's hardship? Well, did you become a landlord because the tenants were going to pay for the mortgage? That's how they see it. You should have known what you got yourself into. For tenants, it's a little different. It's like, look, it's like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is there against the businesses, not in favor of the businesses. Okay? So there's a lot of protection for the tenants, not for the landlords. There's not many for the landlord. Okay? And yeah, I've heard this one too. New York is crazy. You thought what changed, Franciali? The hardship thing? Oh no. Hardship has not changed. Hardship has not changed. All right. Oh, the 6 months? Yeah, well, no. First of all, some judges say no right off the bat. They're like, oh, I can see through you. Right? You have no hardship. You're taking advantage. Right? The rule is 6 months. All right, next. A tenant. If a tenant remains in a rental unit after notifying the landlords of intent to vacate, this is treated the same as you should have returned the security deposit, right? If you don't return your security deposit, you have to pay double the security deposit, right? A tenant that says, hey, I'm leaving, but then stays, right? They have to pay double the rent, right? I can charge you double the rent. Now, where do we find these? Mainly commercial. Most residential landlords, first of all, they don't know. Second, like if you're talking about property managed properties, right? So managed properties. They also don't enforce this for residential. They're like, it's not worth it. But the rule is there. I can charge you double the rent if you said you were going to leave. I already have somebody ready to move in, and wait a minute, you're still here. Right? So I can charge you double the rent. If a lease term is more than 1 month, then the landlord may evict the tenant who has not vacated. However, if the landlord continues, this is a big mistake people make, and I learned that with my very first tenant. If I keep on accepting rent from a tenant, let me change this to one thing. Any. Melissa, you look so young. What happened there? I guess Melissa walked away and somebody just took over the camera. Anyway, so if you accept any rent from the tenant, automatically resets that eviction that you're trying to create. So that's why my professional renter, my very first renter, played that trick on me. Hey, Bruno, I lost my job. Like, oh, okay, I'll help you, right? Bruno, I got a job. Like a month and a half later, Bruno, I got a job. I'll give you some money as soon as I start getting paid. I only get paid in 2 weeks. Weeks later, here's $500 or $600 or whatever it was. I'll give you some more as soon as I get paid next week, in 2 weeks again. And like, okay, 2 weeks again. Guess what happened? That job didn't work out, so I'm not working anymore, right? And this person worked at supposedly at a salon, so it was cash. It was not something that I could track, right? As a landlord, if I wanted to take you to court, I couldn't track it. So right now, at this point, what happens is I keep on accepting some money. I accepted some money, so it's like I'm negotiating. And when I took this person to court finally after 6 or 7 months, I finally took him to court. I said, no more. Now it's wintertime. And he was a single mother. Wintertime, single mother, no job. What do you think that happened? What do you think happened there? Hardship. So when I finally took this person to court somewhere in October, when I finally got a hearing, I used no attorneys back then. When I finally got a hearing in front of a judge, did you or did you not accept some money? I said, yeah, but Your Honor. Well, you accepted some money. That means you're in some type of negotiations and you're coming here in bad faith. No, Your Honor, they're coming in bad faith because they've been paying me in it. Don't want to hear it. You accepted some money. That means you agreed to something, and now you're here breaching that agreement. And of course, tenant on the other side is like, Your Honor, my daughter, single mother, winter, no job, and Bruno said he was going to help me. I gave some money. I told him I was doing this. And the judge ruled against me. Right? Cool thing. So, in a total period of time of 12 months, because that's how long you stay there, 12 months, right? The total period of time of 12 months, I got paid less than 9 months in the total period of time. So I got like 3 and change. No, a little bit less than 8. Yeah. So I got paid 3 and change. 3 months and change. That was it. The rest of the time, she knew how to play the game, right? So, accepting any rent resets the whole thing in front of court. Aren't you guys happy with New Jersey law? Don't worry, New York is worse for landlords. Any questions? Questions before I move forward? Still going to do another chapter, right? No? No. Miguel has a question. Go ahead. Yep, I know. That's why I was trying to do it all today. So should I decline a portion and accept only whole rent? Yes. The moment you accept part of it, you're showing that you're in some type of agreement. Remember when I said cut your losses? Cut your losses short? That's it. Or make sure, because I didn't do this. Then I learned later. If there's any type of agreement between you and the tenant, make sure your attorney handled it. So now I prefer to pay my attorney some money, right? So I'm going to lose some money. But the agreement is with the attorney with an understanding that if they don't pay the next installment of that agreement we've made, it's straight to court. Okay? So now it's in writing. It's something that's legally accepted by the tenant and me. Right? So now when I go to court, I say, Your Honor, these were the provisions. It was a legal document drafted between by my attorney between me and the tenant. and these are the conditions. Most of the times, landlord will look at it, and because it's the attorney presenting, the attorney that created it presenting it, most of the times, my will fly versus the tenants. It's about knowing how to do it. Okay. The vet's like, is it the same with bank and modification? Should you pay any mortgage? All right. Again, I'm not an attorney, but let me ask you something, Yvette. It's gonna count badly on your end anyway if you're paying some or paying none. So credit-wise, it's gonna hurt you regardless. But again, still talk to an attorney about it. But let me ask you, if you owe me money, right? Actually, let's do it the other way around. If I owe you money, right? And you're like, okay, Bruno, I know you're going through a hardship. Let's see if we can figure something out. Give me some money, right? If I owe you money and I'm always giving you some money, right? What are you going to do? Are you going to change something? Are you going to modify this? Or are you going to wait until I actually stop paying and then you're like, ooh, panic mode. This person stopped paying. Maybe we should now negotiate or go to court, one or the other. So while you're paying some money, the concept is the same. I keep on taking it. Some money, right? Once you're serious about it, then we negotiate. Now, is that the right strategy to take? Probably not. The right strategy is trying to figure out alternatives to get you back on the horse, to make sure that you get everything leveled already instead of being behind. That's the right strategy. But how can you do it if you're in hardship? Difficulty. So again, could banks hold out on giving you a modification because you're still paying something? Yeah, they could. You're not seriously delinquent, so I'm not worried about it. Whatever comes, and then we'll deal with it later. That's the type of mentality that most banks take on, unfortunately. So they have to help you somehow, but they're helping themselves until you're actually hardship. Robin, so Muslima wrote, never mind. Question was, but never mind. And then Robin wrote, can wages be garnished to pay rent owed if the court finds in favor of the landlord? Great question. So Robin is asking, okay, eviction successful. Great. Can we go after the wages to get paid whatever was behind, like whatever they owe you, right? So I don't know about all the states, but I know, again, what my first experience was, and second and third, and a few other things that I needed to deal with until I figure out how this process goes. And eviction and recovery of monies are two separate lawsuits. So can you go after wages, right, for the rent that's unpaid? You have to file a small claims. You have to file a small claims court against them. So you get the eviction, successful, great, you're out. The eviction says they owe you X amount of dollars. Now you go to small claims court and say, hey, I'm suing you for X amount of dollars based on the eviction, right? And good luck with the rest. Because as one of my attorneys said, not, shortly after I finally started figuring this thing out, I finally started hiring attorneys because I was in the hole in the beginning. Right? I wouldn't even hire attorneys because these people are not paying me at all. So once I finally started hiring attorneys, one of the attorneys goes to me, look, I could take your money and not go anywhere. So what I recommend, so some attorneys took my money like that. But then this attorney goes like, look, I'll help you with the eviction, but as far as the rest of the money, unless it's like $10,000 or more, it's not even worth it. You're going to waste time in court. It's going to take forever because it's small claims court. It could take 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They can appeal it. They can do this. They can do that. If you don't have a way to track the income that they have, then forget about it altogether. Maybe one day when they do their taxes somewhere in the future, right? So unless it's like $10,000 or more, cut your losses short. That's it, right? Forget it. Swipe left. Next. That's it. So can you? Yes. Right? That's it. I thought with my very first eviction done by myself, right? No attorneys. My very first eviction by myself, I said, yes, I'm going to get my money. And I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting while I rented somebody else, right? And waiting and no money. Finally, like I said, I started inquiring about these things and realized that no, eviction is just to kick somebody out and put somebody else in. So that's it. Okay. Can you garnish wages if you file a lawsuit for it? Yes, maybe. Okay. What's the statute of limitations for trying to look? So if you file the lawsuit, with it's a 6-year lawsuit, but if you file the lawsuit within like as soon as possible, right? It's filed. Period. So anytime in the future that they collect money, supposedly you will get paid from any of the monies that come up. So the statute of limitations is on the lawsuit, supposedly, not on garnishment. Okay. So, and I'm telling you this because it happened to a friend of mine. It was regarding something totally unrelated to evictions, but he's doing his taxes, and it's the first year that he's supposed to get money back, right? And he's like, doesn't get the money. Like, IRS, what happened? Well, what happened, right? Or the state, I'm not sure, one or the other. But what happened? And then they told him, well, you had a levy against you for something that was like 13 or 14 years ago. He had forgotten about it, that he owed somebody money. There was a levy against him. So he finally receives money doing his taxes, and they took that money from him. Yvette, when the tenant tries to rent again, is this credit or her credit? Yeah. If you filed a lawsuit, then it's going to be, if you're one of those landlords that does everything properly, then you're going to do a background check. Like now I do background checks, right? So if you're one of those landlords, then yes, you're going to see that there's a past or previous eviction. Property management companies, what they do is they have a score system that only says pass, so-so, or fail. It doesn't say, hey, there was an eviction. So sometimes they don't pay for that, right? But if you really want to see, okay, yes, there was an eviction, and it was at this date, there was that date, and then they make the determination based on that. Yeah. Okay. Question. Again, a lot of these questions, so I tell you one more time, a lot of these questions should be directed to an attorney. I'm just letting you know based on experience, okay, not based on legalities, okay? So still figure out with your attorney what's your current situation as a landlord or tenant. I can tell you 15, almost 16 years. I can tell. So if a realtor is renting apartments, does a credit check, and does a credit check, there's different debts of credit checks, yes. There's just a credit, there's the background check for eviction, so previous landlords, right? So there's credit check, and there's a public record check, which is for potential evictions. There's a bunch of different levels, and you pay based on that. So the one that we have, that we provide to as an agent, you cost about $50, but it gives you both the credit and potential evictions. So like public record check. Well, does the landlord need to know? Well, your real estate agent is supposed to tell you when you do a background check, the ones we do, it covers this and covers that. If you'd like more, if you'd like less, you have that option. Yep. Okay. But there's, like, let's say you don't use a realtor, like you want to do it on your own. There's something called smartmove.com. It's by TransUnion. TransUnion will or that company by TransUnion will give you a bunch of options. Like, do you want to check for credit? Do you want to check for public records for potential evictions? Do you want to check for criminal records as well? Like, yeah, there's different levels of what you can check. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? We still got like 9 minutes left, so we can do chapter 30. Right, no questions? Right, cool. There's no questions on YouTube. There's no questions on Zoom. Guys, I wish you an amazing evening. And if you want to join the tomorrow's class at 10 a.m., you're welcome to join. If not, I'll see you at 5:30 for chapter 30. Thank you. Have a great evening.